Griff, the Wales squad's been announced. Ashley Beck is now in it. Neither is Sam Lewis. Why do the Boers' omissions surprise you? Or disappoint you, should we say?
Yeah, they disappoint me as someone who works with them day in, day out and does see the genuine quality there. But I think, regardless of the depth in the regional game, I think the Welsh game, there's a little bit of depth around it. So you can understand there's good competition, and the boys just got to keep working hard. And for Ashley as well, I think it's about getting a good consistent run of rugby, because he's had good points this year, but lots of little niggles here and there. So we just got to get him right and get some consistency out of him week in, week out. And I think he'll come again. He surely will with the quality he's got.
On the flip side, Reece Webb's in after long injuries. A good month, then he'd be rewarded for it.
Yeah, and it's the flip side for me, in terms of knowing the guys, and I'm delighted for them, because we've commented before how hard he worked in terms of recovering from another serious injury, and it's just so commendable the way he went through that. But also, I think the way he's taken on key messages in terms of the rugby itself, in terms of heat of the moment stuff, in terms of how he's scanning, looking at the game and appreciating where he can be a threat, but where he's got to get a bit of flow into the game as well. So I'm thrilled for him, and I think it is good reward for picking up some form.
On the flip side, if you do lose him for some Six Nations and you lose Taito as well, Valdi, challenging for you as from that position.
Yeah, back to the start of the year, it thins us out to a certain degree. So yeah, the coaching me in terms of looking for high performance for our boys starts to think about how we plan around these things. But we've discussed these sort of contingencies the last few weeks, so it's a natural break in terms of Europe, and then the LV period we can start to play around with a couple of ideas we've got, and obviously planning our 9 situation towards Ulster and Treviso becomes paramount for us.
Griff, did you feel that Sam Davis might have sort of just edged a sort of squad place just for experience, possibly, like they did with Friday a couple of years ago?
Possibly around training and stuff, I understand it, but I don't think he would have deserved that. I'm very much old school in that. I've said before, I think players have got to earn their spurs in the regional game over a period of time, and I think Sam has made a massive impact coming to us, gives us the balance we crave, and is adapting to a new position. But I want his learning to take place on a weekly basis with us, because I think there's a long way to go.
Where do you plan to sort of play in during the Six Nations? Are you going to use him outside half or full back?
We'll reward form in terms of what people do on a daily basis in training. We demand excellence, so we'll give both outside halves that courtesy. But also mindful, and we've said it before, that both tens perhaps give different attributes in terms of who we play as well. In terms of perhaps sometimes Sam came in, I remember, against Glasgow home, and for 60 minutes he was excellent in terms of bossing the game as an outside half in a real game that demanded field position, and trying to put them away in a closer, tighter manner. And we were 16-6 up under the posts, and if we'd have put one away there, I think we'd have been really delighted, and Sam was a big part of that. But on the flip side, there's certain games which break open, especially in the Rabo potentially, looking around that period where Matthew can be devastating. So how we use him, it can certainly help us as a squad.
You're being linked this morning with Dan Evans. Could you sort of expand on that?
He's a good player. I coached him when he was a younger man at age group, and seems to have matured a lot and has put consistent bit of rugby together over the last couple of years. So no, he's surprisingly he's out there, but I think there's nothing much more to say on that.
Yeah. Do you see him being part of the squad next year?
I couldn't comment. Like I said, he's a good player, and he certainly fits how the Dragons have seen the game the last couple of years. And I think, as I said, he seems to have grown up, had a big run of games, and deserves, I think, big plaudits for being a big player for the Dragons. And I think he'll add to any team he plays in.
Do you like left-footed full-backs as well? Dan, you've got Sunday, so that's an option in the back line if he wants to come in.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I like balance in the back line, and we've probably gone full circle actually in terms of our balance left-right. That we've probably got more kicking options left than we have right. But whether we need another one, who knows?
Griff, how do you approach selection for this game? Obviously, you're out of the tournament effectively. Do you go flat out for it?
Yeah, we'll go best available really. We've got a lot of bumps and bruises, but this competition demands the higher standards, and we're going to one of the top teams around, so we can't do anything half-hearted, and we want to pick up a significant away win. There's gaps in Ospreys rugby over the last few years in Europe, but especially away from home, so we've got to try and make that up, and we feel we've got quality in players to come in to cover the injuries from last weekend, and we want to be positive about the whole experience.
What are your thoughts on that game going over to RDS? You drew the start of the season. That was give confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's a place, I've been there 4 times with the Ospreys over the last 2 years, and we've had some good experiences there. Obviously a couple of tight wins and the draw start of the year. We played some good rugby, often on the back foot as well. We've shown we can do that against Leinster in the past. Even though when we lost the back end of last year, we enjoyed the lion's share possession and territory and scored 3 good tries. So we've had good adventures over there, and we've got to take that positivity with us, but know that Leinster are the ruthless side in Europe, and they're going to want to close the deal on this group and try and push themselves on as well, and we know how much of a challenge that'll be.
Is there updates on the future of Alan and Adam Jones still?
No, nothing. No, we're there. Period of uncertainty.
Who's available? Who's unavailable from last week? Who come back in for this week?
Boys, people like Duncan, Bierman, Sam Lewis, Isaacs, Fussell, all struggling to varying degrees and not, as you can see, on the training pitch today. So we've got a short turnaround, and majority of trained. We're trying to get up to speed quickly and back those boys.
Ryan and Hanno, how are they?
Ryan's out there training, and again trying to push him today, and hopefully no reaction, and try and see him involved. Hanno still isn't registered for Europe and wouldn't have been fit this week, and obviously it's just trying to look after Hanno for the next rabble period, really.
Griff, why, obviously you haven't qualified for the last 8. What way do you think has gone wrong for you this year in Europe?
I think, we could clearly say small margins. Games have turned on small margins, and but it's not just one game; it's 2, 3 games. So that's a trend in Ospreys rugby that we've got to look at. There's obviously 6-0 up against Leinster, then there's a 2v1 we don't take. The Castro away game is one that we could have put to bed, but we've got to develop a mentality, regardless of budgets or constraints. There shouldn't be excuses that, if we do everything to the best of our ability, as we've shown today in our review, we could and should be winning games like the one we've just gone through. We can do it at Rabo level, and perhaps we've got to develop that ruthlessness and the iciness about us just to go about our business in more of a clinical manner in big games in Europe, and reacting better to perceived pressure points. And it's how you train that as well, and how we prepare, manage, and look at all the research and numbers we get thrown at us, and what we do then on a yearly basis. What worked a couple of years ago may not work now, so we're just playing around with how we research peak performance at certain times. But it's also about having a collective accuracy, and that clearly hasn't been there at key points in Europe.
Griff, are you mystified how the Irish provinces seemingly have cracked Europe, and yet the Welsh continue to sort of struggle, relatively speaking?
I think perhaps their game is geared up towards peaking for these periods. We certainly, where we've perhaps thinned out a little bit recently, can't target in perhaps the way you'd expect. But also, obviously, we have some different calendar constraints as well, and we're trying to manage a smaller group now for almost 11, 12 months of the season, and trying to work with our national partners in getting peak performance all the time. So we are trying to research and look at different areas, demanding excellence, but also trying to, let's be honest, improve the quality of the squad as well. We've thinned out over the last 18 months or so, so I certainly feel, perhaps I'm speaking from a back's perspective, we almost have to go back to go forward again, and we are trying to evolve our game by doing so as well, play a bit more positive rugby, but also without losing the foundation of what we were good at, which is also stuff which worries us at the moment.
After we scored with getting Jenkins injury, gives Ryan Bear a real great opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. We know he's got the ability. He's just certainly as an athlete, but there's a lot of learning where we often get frustrated with Ryan. He's got to perhaps take his game to the next level, and we've been waiting for that for a while. And I think if we can all see that, us and Wales, we'd be equally delighted.
Confident that's going to happen soon?
a lot of it comes down to absorbing the information that we as coaches can give, but hopefully a bit of self-awareness from him and other players is what drives players on, not just the younger players, but I think if you're 90 games old, so down the track as an Osprey, we want you to push on as well.
Griff, have you got a comeback date for Eli?
Nothing definitive, no. He's doing some straight line running and gym-based work, but as you can expect with Eli, we are slowly but surely that we're not going to accelerate him back. We obviously want to manage him again long term. We want to try and get something from him this year, but he's had a few issues the last 2 years, and we just trust our medical team to just put us in a position where we'll put him on the park when he's 100%, not before.
Do you think he'll be available for Six Nations at all? Eli?
I think he's got to probably come back to full fitness, and I hope get on the field and be in a right positive frame of mind for us first and foremost. I'm sure he'd agree with that, and then players will get the rewards from there.
Has it been a problem because it was 10 weeks from early November?
No, it just sometimes I think because of previous issues, potentially some of them can be slower to heal, but we're reasonably confident the way we just manage him at the moment. He's starting to do some straight line, there's some skill-based stuff we'll add over the next few weeks. So in the best case, I'd love to have him back for these 4 Rabo games.